Well, today is Thursday, February 9th, and we're still on Black History Month. But before I get into any detail, a couple people had asked me about how Gary Kent is. Spoke to him yesterday. He had surgery to put a screw in the hip he broke. He's in rehab now. Me and Gonzo were working on my kitchen sink yesterday, and we should have made a video with that, but that would have just shown how completely fucking inept we were, and we're not going to do that. But anyway, in the middle of that, we did give Gary a call, and we chatted with him for about 5 minutes before he got tired and wanted to take a nap. So right now, he's okay, and I'm glad he's okay. But segueing into a Black History, you would have to understand the area that I grew up in. The oranges in New Jersey. There was West Orange, Orange, East Orange, and South Orange. Sounds like a fucking fruit basket, and sometimes it was a fruit basket. But anyway, the demographic was South Orange was predominantly white, and Seton Hall University was located in South Orange. And a lot of the hippie movement took place in South Orange because of the college, close proximity of the college. West Orange, where I sort of grew up, butted against Orange. West Orange was sort of like a changing community. Maybe, see, there was a whole weird demographic. My parents bought a house on top of the hill, and people that lived on the bottom of the hill thought people on top of the hill had a lot of money, which we didn't. And there was a big split there as far as friends and shit like that. Like I said, Orange butted up against West Orange, and Orange was predominantly a lot of Italians and African Americans were moving in. East Orange, which butted it up against Orange, was pretty much predominantly black at that point. So here's the thing. All this stuff that was going on, one of my friends, whose name was Kenny Landau, I don't even know if he's still around anymore, we used to call him Big Frenchie. He lifted this album from his parents, and this was what was known as a party album. Now, prior to this, Red Fox did a lot of party albums. I think the first one was You Gotta Wash Your Ass. And that was on the DL because, of course, Red was dirty. Well, even dirtier was Rudy Ray Moore, who basically came up, had a bunch of these, had like 18 party albums released and sold over 1 million units without any benefit of airplay. And then, of course, we all know that Rudy segued into this character Dolomite and made a bunch of movies about that. And he also worked for other directors, including my old buddy Todd Sheets in Violent New Breed. Rudy was honored at Chiller Theater, and the weird part was I think Rudy was actually living in West Orange at this time. I know when he passed away, he was living up here in Akron, Ohio, but he was at Chiller and didn't know he was going to get an award and went into his comedy act in front of everybody, which was pretty cool. But anyway, Rudy was a legend. They just made a biopic with him starring Eddie Murphy, which was really good. So, but again, Rudy sort of, I guess as far as blaxploitation, he was mainstream blaxploitation toward the end. Now, the album I'm going to talk about, nobody would have heard of these fuckers because this was called a party album. And Kenny came over to this album called Doug Clark and the Hot Nuts. And it was like a little band. But they sang dirty limericks. I think, I'm trying to think of their song. Nuts, hot nuts, you get them from the Peanut Man. Nuts, hot nuts, you get them anywhere you can. Then they go into limericks. See that girl, her name is Squirrel. She got so many nuts, they called her a squirrel or something like that. Then they go into these limericks like, there once was a plumber named Lee who was plumbing his girl by the sea. She said, stop your plumbing, I hear someone coming. He yelled, the only one coming is me. Then they'd go, aye, your mother swims after the troop ships. And here is another verse that's worse than the other verse. Waltz me around by my willy. Okay, we're nasty little fucking kids in our early teens, 12, 13 years old, and we think this is fucking great shit. And we wanted more. So like I said, Orange butted against West Orange, and Main Street Orange had a lot of cool shops, including record shops, which I bought, my Frank Zappa and the Bugs and stuff out and shit like that. Plus some bookstores, some clothing stores. But if you got further down the block, there was black record stores, black clothing stores, and shit like that. So I would go in looking for Doug Clark and the Hot Nuts because I was a nasty little kid and wanted to hear more dirty limericks. And there was never a problem. I mean, I shopped there. Nobody bothered me. Here's a white boy spending some coin. Everything was cool. So there was never a differentiation in my mind, and I thought all this shit was hysterically funny. And then, when you get into the Red Fox stuff and Rudy stuff, it was even more funny. But these were known as party albums, and they were pretty much underground, for lack of better words, because like I said, Rudy had no airplay. I don't think Red had any airplay, and I'm sure Doug didn't have any airplay. But there was also probably other, black artists that did the same thing. This was like all done in, black clubs around the area, New York, New Jersey, especially like Newark and Patterson, places like that. So it was all good. And like I said, I had no problem shopping there. I had no problem getting into this stuff because I thought it was cool. And, I got a fucking filthy little mind to begin with and, whatever. So that worked. So that's a little segment of black history that, is sort of like ignored because, these guys were groundbreaking pioneers in this stuff. And they started, off with these comedy albums, which benefited Bill Cosby, George Carlin, and a lot of other stand-up comics that came out. And, the whole thing with Rudy was, like I said, his stand-up act predated Richard Pryor by a lot of years. So he was doing this shit way before anybody else was. So just remember these guys because they deserve to be remembered and they should never be forgotten. So that's our show for today. Thanks for tuning in. Welcome all new subscribers. And above all, stay safe and we'll catch you on the next episode.